From what I understand, our Protoss player in game number 1 of this best-of-3 series decides to play a stupid, greedy early game. This series was played at the StarCraft 2 World Championships at IEM Katowice. I haven't seen it yet, so I'm excited to find out exactly what ended up going down between these two players. First map, it's gonna be Neo-Humanity. I almost forgot the name right there for a second. Playing with the blue Protoss probes in the top left-hand corner from the United States of America. We're looking at Astrea's main nexus. His opponent in the opposite corner from Italy, but currently living in the Netherlands. The man just got an apartment in the greatest country in the world, although I might be a little bit biased. We're looking at Reynor's main hatchery. Alrighty. Now, I want to see what Astrea decides to do. From what I understand, so this is, I guess, a small spoiler, but from what I understand, he goes for a very quick third nexus. Okay. So it's a pylon into a nexus right here on Neo-Humanity. Fair enough. I'm assuming it has to be a gateway on the back of it, because otherwise, yeah, things would become a little bit silly. And we're already gonna start mining out the minerals right here in the back of the natural. Okay. So, normally I would not recommend greedy build orders like this. Honestly, I don't think you should go for a Nexus first in the majority of your games. Just because, well, there's an opponent on the other side of the map who might feel a little bit cheesy, especially in ladder games. But when you know you're, well, facing off against, for example, Reynor. Ooh, okay, we're already going there? Okay. When you know you're facing off against Reynor, 9 times out of 10, the man will go for a hatchery first. He'll go for that standard triple hatch Zerg opener, so you can play into that image a little bit. Wow. 1 minute and 46 seconds on the clock. Astrea has already put down a third nexus. Reynor's gonna scout this right now. I actually am gonna back off for just a second. Was there a delay at all on the cyber core? No, I don't think there was. So Astrea is cutting workers here, just so he can go for a cyber core at the appropriate timing. I actually really like the probe cut here. At this point, Reynor is looking at this and he's like, it's a Nexus first. Dang it, I could have punished it pretty easily. Because the cyber core is still at the appropriate time after the gateway finished up. Is Reynor gonna figure out that there's already a third Nexus taken? I actually really now like the fact that he did not finish up one of those mineral fields yet, because that would be a very clear giveaway. I think at this point, Reynor has absolutely no idea what he's playing against. Yep, Astrea now even being obnoxious as well, trying to block the third hatchery from coming up. There will be Zerglings here ready to ruin this party for the Protoss player, but secretly our American here, he really wants to have this third hatchery going up, because otherwise... Oh, we're gonna go for the forward third instead. Otherwise, the game can become a little bit tricky. Forward third is also something pretty exciting, though. I wouldn't be surprised if this is something we're gonna see more and more moving forward. Reynor, by the way, still does not know. There's a high-yield Vespian Geyser over here that returns twice as much gas as a regular Vespian Geyser. Obviously, it still has 2250 gas in it, so it will also mine out twice as quickly. This is something that Protoss player the Protoss player here has to keep in mind, though, because okay, now Reynor knows. There's certainly a chance that we're gonna be seeing some very aggressive attacks coming out of our Zerg, making use of that high-yield Vespian Geyser. Okay, so the third Nexus is spotted, but is there really anything you can do about it? Ooh, okay, so Astrea decides to fully wall in the natural. He's leaving a sentry over here as well. If the sentry has enough energy for force fields, which it obviously will have very, very soon, the only entrance into the bases is gonna be right over here, other than, I guess, flying units. A Nidus network, always an option as well, but I actually kind of like this. So, Neo-Humanity features a pretty interesting base layout. This is not something we normally see in StarCraft 2. Especially if you create like a bit of a wall over here with maybe a few additional structures. Really, the only entrance would be right over here. Okay. So the question is this something that Reynor is going to do anything about? Yeah, so Reynor right now sees the hallucinated Phoenix. That probably is all he really needs to know. He also sees the Twilight Council and the Forge in the main base, so there's no Stargate or anything like that. Normally an Oracle would be showing up right about 4 or so minutes into the game. Maybe in this particular match, because of the third Nexus, it would show up a little bit later. But Reynor's still guessing as to what the opponent is exactly going for. Roach Warren coming up together with the Lair here. So these are lined up so he can start up the Roach speed upgrade right away. Yeah, so I think Reynor is saying, dang, I could have dealt with this if I knew that this was happening earlier on. But at this point, the worst thing you can do is sort of semi-commit to trying to kill that third Nexus. You have to either go for a complete all-in, or you just, you know, play macro on the back of this. And I think Reynor has decided to go for option 2. Just play macro on the back of it. Just hope and cross your fingers you're not already really far behind. Because I can imagine that this is not something that Zerg players go up against all too often. Economically speaking, if we look right here, yeah, at the income advantage, I mean, for a little while there, Astrea was significantly ahead. And I think he will still be ahead here as well moving forward. He's a little oversaturated right now on the third Nexus, but... Ooh, okay. So even though there's no easy way into the natural, there's no easy way into the third, what we can do is load the ladies right here into Overlords. I think that's the plan. There's not enough space though, is there? Oh no, there is. Okay. Thought for a second we needed a little bit more space. I wasn't calling Brenda. I wasn't saying that, okay? I just didn't think 4 of them could fit right here in one of these balloons, but I guess they're not really the real skill. Okay, so I thought Reynor would have no idea about what to do against this sort of thing. Turns out the man has a very good plan. Look at this. An Overlord creep train has decided to get towards the other side of the map. There are Ravagers here in the mix as well, and they're going to be super critical. That poor Stalker is definitely not going to survive. These structures can take double damage here from those corrosive vials, so that is super helpful here for Reynor. Excellent force field. Brenda has to be transfused right there to keep her alive. Now we're starting to break into the natural expansion though, and even though I thought Reynor would be a little unsure as to how to approach this, he seems to have a very good plan. Battery overcharge gets used. Vials just absolutely shut it down. Easy peasy. Is there gonna be enough for the Protoss player to push this all back? There's an Immortal coming up, but it's not out yet. Blink is gonna finish up as well, but it's also not done yet. And by the time that it finishes, the majority of the Stalkers have already gone down. This is a very aggressive push though. Reynor has not justified this just yet. Worker-wise, Protoss is still ahead. Income-wise, Protoss is also still gonna be ahead. There's no 4th hatchery or anything on the back of this either. Low HP Roaches now get morphed into Ravagers. They will spawn with full hit points as soon as that completion is done, but with the new multiplayer balance patch, it takes about 4 seconds longer. And honestly, in these fights, that is a very noticeable difference. These Zerglings should really be sneaking into the main base to try and go after a couple of the workers, because as Protoss... Yeah, okay, they're gonna go into the main base right now. As Protoss warps in more and more stuff, their income advantage is gonna become more and more apparent as well. Okay, Probes decide to pick up their blades or their tasers or whatever they use for fighting, and they do kill the Lings. There is a Zerg infestation. Those corrosive balls were really good, but so far this push hasn't actually paid off yet. The problem is, Astrea needs to now clean this all up with basically no losses. And I've got a feeling that this Nexus at the very least is gonna fall. And on top of that, we may see the Zerg now heading on over towards the third or the natural as well. Yeah, now this push is completely justified here for Reynor, especially since he also decided to go for a tech follow-up here. So we see a hatchery, an Evo chamber, a Baling Nest. We see all of it on the production tab right now, and he's even droning behind it. A recall from the third into the main base. I kind of like that, but that certainly is a desperation move, right? Zerg immediately decides to cycle on back towards the main base of the Protoss player, but... yeah. Okay, well, apparently went behind Dark Shrine. The age-old adage of the Protoss still counts. One little roach pretending to be a stalker, but sadly it's not gonna happen for him. We do have detection right now as well, so that's nice. At least the creep tumors are gonna get destroyed, but the Zerg army has been pushed back. The ladies are making the walk of shame. But the only reason why this walk of shame really needs to be made is because of the fact that Reynor hasn't really been making any attacking units here in quite a while. So, the natural is gonna be reacquired. He's gonna just try and macro his way out of this? Okay, well, we have some Dark Templar. The Dark Templar are gonna have to put in some work. If they can kill the equivalent of about a base worth, I do think this is manageable. Now notice the distinct lack of detection right there on the units tab. Reynor at this point has absolutely no clue about the DTs, even though he was in the main base right there of the Protoss for forever. He probably assumed that that little structure was a pylon. It looks very, very similar to a pylon, so You can't really blame Reynor for not clicking on that, even though the man is 480 actions per minute on average here. Apparently that's not quite enough to click on every structure. Oh god, okay. One DT has been decided to stay back. They're gonna spread out. Okay, one in the natural, one in the main base, Stalkers at the front, one at the third. Now Reynor has spotted the little blur, but drones are already starting to fall. If Astrea can kill, I want to say, at least a dozen workers, I think this is very playable. Maybe a little bit less would be enough, to be honest. Yeah, Overseer coming in. Obviously, he's got that Overseer speed upgrade from earlier as well. Yeah. Good cleanup right there from Reynor, all things considered. That's one thing that's always impressive to me, even after watching this game for such a long time and for playing it as well. The crisis management of these guys is on point. It's very easy to absolutely freak out against Dark Templar, but honestly, 3 Dark Templar for like 8 drones? I don't think that was really worthwhile at all. Supply-wise, that's really where the story is being told, right? Reynor very far ahead. This is now also not an army that's just Roaches, Ravagers, and Queens anymore. We've got Lings and Banes into the mix as well, and the Lings and the Banes, they have +1 melee. So, yeah, these Banelings are gonna be very, very powerful. We do have a Robo Bay. Yeah, so Astrea right now transitioning towards Disruptors, one of his favorite units in the game. They do have that comeback mechanic. But for a second, those were the Dropper Lords right there on the left side. Hello, probes, back off. Okay, they were ready to roll themselves into Banelings. Very ambitious goal, but not necessarily the best. More probes end up going down, but this is an expensive trade though for our Zerg. Whenever you see Stalkers, yeah, being killed by Banelings, it's never really cost efficient, but I don't know if it really matters. Economically speaking, Reynor has just been too far ahead for too long. And while I do really like the opener that Astrea decided to go for, I think it turned out a little bit too greedy. Especially because he also followed it up with the Twilight Council as well as the Forge. I wonder what would have happened if he decided to go for another tech route here instead. Either way though, our Protoss player right now, he's been reduced to 2 base economy. The main base is running out, the natural is running low as well. At this point, there's really not a whole lot you can do anymore. He's got some units, he's got a dream, but Reynor has a way too big of an army. Alright, next up, we find ourselves on the map Babylon. Curious to see if Astrea decides to play a greedy game once again. Nah, doesn't look like it. Like I said, this was played, I think I said it, in game number 1. Did I say it? Anyways, this was played at the StarCraft 2 World Championships, so you obviously don't want to go down to something silly. Even though at the pro level, it's not very common for Zerg players to go for early spawning pools, there's no denying that Reynor is going to be perfectly capable of playing a 12 pool or a 14 pool or even a 16 pool, something along those lines. There are build orders out there that will just, well, most of the time anyways, straight up counter a Nexus first, and even though they're not very popular, it doesn't mean that they don't exist. Just gonna be a gateway right here. I'm assuming we're gonna go for a Nexus at 20 supply and then followed up with a Cybercore at 20 supply as well. That is the norm. Yep. There's the Nexus. And now we're gonna go for the Cybercore. The reason for the Probe Scout is to figure out whether or not you should go for the Cybercore first and then the Nexus, or if you can go for the Nexus first and then the Cybercore. Usually if the Zerg is going for a hedge first, he actually goes 21. Interesting. Anyways, normally if the Zerg goes for a hatchery first, you end up going for the Nexus first yourself as well, but if they go for a pool first, you go for the Cybercore first. So that's what this Probe Scout is mostly here for. Other than being an absolute nuisance, it forced the Zerg to go for the 3rd base. It forced the Zerg now off of these mineral patches as well. That's what Astrea is trying to do here. Fun fact, the way that Zergs and Protoss players actually do this these days, so usually what people used to do, right? You would come in with a Probe Scout and then you would frantically right-click over and over and over again. You know, with your mouse, you would right-click on one of those mineral fields. These days, what people actually do is rapid-fire the mineral gather command. So for me, on my keyboard, it's hotkey A. So say, for example, the probe is over here and my drone is over here and it needs to mine there. I just hold down hotkey A and then I hover over the mineral field. Just a small little trick that allows you to click significantly faster without the clicking. Rapid fire is kind of OP. Anyways, robotics facility opener. Robotics facility opener. Huh. Okay. So the last few times I've seen Robo Facility Openers, it's pretty much always Disruptor drops. So we'll have to see if that is what Astrea wants to go for here, because this is a little bit of an uncommon strategy. Normally we see a Stargate at this point in the game, or we see a Twilight Council. Yeah, okay, so it's gonna be straight into a Robo Bay. So we'll probably go Observer into Prism and then into Disruptors. And obviously in the Robo Bay you can also research the Gravitic Drive, the Prism speed improvement, which is quite nice. The problem, however, that I have with these builds is that you kind of have to deal some sort of damage. So normally there would be an Oracle popping out right about right now, and you can use it to take the third Nexus, right? In this particular game, there's not really gonna be something to stop a group of Zerglings from killing a third. So you're forced to take your third base a little bit later, and therefore you're forced to deal some sort of damage on the other side of the map. Second Robo. Ooh. Okay, so this could be some sort of elaborate two-base all-in. These Lings over here are pretending, these Adepts right here are pretending. They're saying to those Zerglings, yo, we're gonna take a third base pretty soon. I'm not entirely sure if they are. Well, maybe we will. Okay, well. Now, I guess everything is spotted. Roach Warren has come up. Reynor has been droning for a little while. He hasn't actually connected his natural and his third yet, which is something worth noting, because those queens are gonna have a hard time moving around. I actually really don't like that. Can we please put down a creep tumor here, Reynor? Okay, yeah, he wants to hit the prism. So he wants to attack the prism here before they can properly unload. And if you can even just hurt the shields a little bit, it makes it much more difficult for the Protoss player to actually commit. It's a second prism. That's what we're doing. Okay, we're going double prism disruptor. I thought the second Robo was a little late, but that's not actually what's going on here. So we're going for a lot of disruptors here and double prism. You know what's better than one prism? Two prisms. Assuming you can control them, that is. But notice that the worker count right now, right? It's slightly in favor of the Zerg, so he's got a few more workers. But income-wise, things should start looking up right now because he's got his workers spread out over 3 bases. So he can sneak out a couple more workers here and there as well if he just adds on a few more drones. Every minute that goes by, he's gonna get more and more hit. So there's the prism speed coming up as well. This is not something I've seen before. Astrea honestly plays some of the most fun StarCraft 2 out there. Yeah, he's very good at playing these unorthodox build orders and to come up with his own strategies. It's a lot of fun. Anyways, here's the first Disruptor drop, heading on over towards the Zerg's natural. Very good pull right there. Oof, very good pull right there by Reynor. Second prism, however, unscouted. That Overlord on the high ground no longer there. So I don't know if he realizes it, right? So this prism kind of wants to show itself. I would actually really love to see this prism moving forward, so it would be even more uncommon to see the second one coming in. Oh god, they could have killed so much more. 4 drones end up going down, what could have been 14. Oh, I could have moved that Nova ever so slightly further, but Reynor with the very quick attack move, by the way, bringing the queens in, splitting the drones. Now Immortals are coming across. This is a very elaborate 2-base all-in. He's even now walling himself into the natural, so there's really no plan to go for a third base either. Reynor at 58 workers, though. Army supply-wise, Reynor is ahead. But it's very low-tech units, right? It's just Roaches and Zerglings, and, well, now the Roaches are gonna get their speed upgrade, but before now, it really wasn't that impressive of an army at all, and honestly, it still is not particularly impressive. So, second prism is here. I would have liked to see, I feel like we could have fired with these disruptors a couple more times. Is he gonna try and, like, yep, that's exactly what we're doing! Oh my god, that's hot! Whew, okay. Yeah, that's the Protoss dream right there. That is really sexy. I'm not gonna lie, that was really beautiful. Trying to cut off those units. A couple of Stalkers will get recalled as well because, a couple of Links knocking on the Protoss. Whoa. Anyways, we need to go. Yeah. We need to go. Time to move. Reynor still ahead when it comes to the supply count. Protoss still has a significantly better army. Gateways in the main base get spotted right now, but I don't think that's really necessary. He probably already knew. Queens are taking some damage. Disruptor's a little too far forward. Yeah, the third hatchery is gonna go down, so that at the very least will be good. Beautiful splits, by the way, from Reynor, man. Okay, well, I say that. The splits before that were excellent, okay? One disruptor goes down. I think that's actually the second one here in total. I must have missed the first one. Anyways, there's the third hatch falling. We really need another base here on the left side, but... yeah, Reynor, yeah, he wants to make it, but he knows as well that those 300 minerals are probably better spent on army. He still needs to stop this force. It doesn't seem to me that Astrea is looking to slow down whatsoever. Okay. Couple of warpins here. Couple of biles as well. The Protoss army, though, is now actually bigger. If you look at the army size, yeah, he's actually been slowly climbing ahead. Now we have to break the Zerg's natural expansion, and that's why those disruptors are so helpful, right? You sort of roll them forward, and over time, they will push the Zerg player back. I think he's waiting for another warpin or so. Yeah, so if you look at the army size over time, for a long time right there, Zerg was leading, but right now, not necessarily the case anymore. The second, third hatchery, also known as the fourth hatchery, now gets spotted. It will also go down. That's a full kill. Two more reinforcing disruptors showing up. Okay, we do have a small hit squad of roaches actually being obnoxious. Reynor realizes that he needs to stop this at home. He needs to stop this at the source. But I don't think it's gonna happen. No, I don't think it's gonna happen, GG. And that brings us to the final game of this best-of-3 series, which will take place on the map, Dragon Scales. I fast-forwarded through the first 2 minutes of this game. This is basically the point at which the cybernetics core finishes up. Normally, Astrea has been going for an ever so slightly later cyber core. Slightly bigger eco. Okay, he's going for the warp gate upgrade first. Are we gonna go Twilight Council? Is that the plan? Or yeah, okay. Either Twilight Council or Robo. I mean, he showed us that the Robo facility opener is viable, but at the very least, Twilight Council is the golden standard if you don't go for a Stargate. Not a single Stargate opener. Yeah, that's kind of funny, right? Every single ZVP that I cast, it always seems to be Stargate opener into Stargate opener into Stargate opener into Stargate opener, but not whenever Astrea is playing, which I really do appreciate. I've noticed actually the videos wherever Astrea is featured, yeah, they tend to do pretty dang well. Now, I also know that like 35% of my audience is from the States. I'm assuming that those two things are related. But I actually really, like, Astrea is probably my second favorite Protoss player to watch. I'm a big fan of Hero just because he plays, you know, the quote-unquote standard, but he does it better than everybody else. I would say that Astrea, maybe Haas. I mean, Astrea is like a more reasonable version of Haas, I suppose. But yeah, no, he's definitely one of my absolute favorite Protoss players right now, and it's mainly because of the fact that the guy is really good, he competes at the absolute highest level, but also because of his strategies and the way that he plays the game. So this is a quote-unquote normal build, where you go for the Glaives upgrade. Okay, so the Glaives, they basically give the Adepts about 45% additional attack speed, which is amazing because, well, these ladies over here, they already deal a ton of damage, and especially when the Zerg player doesn't have that Roach army yet. Most notably, I guess, the Roach speed upgrade, it can deal a stupid amount of damage. Usually they have a hard time fighting the Roaches straight up, but obviously the Adepts can shade around, and if Glial Reconstitution is not done, those Adepts are very, very dangerous. Reynor scouts the main base. Perfect scout, flawless scout over here. He sees everything. Obviously, he doesn't know what upgrade is researching, but at this point, it could theoretically, so Reynor is checking the gases over here. It could theoretically be some sort of silly 8-gate charge all-in, which is something that we used to see back in the day. It's done off of 2 gases only, and Reynor did see that there was additional assimilation mining over here, so I'm assuming that Reynor, now realizes that this is not gonna be Blink, it's not gonna be charged. Well, now he's seen all of the Adepts as well, it has to be Glaives. Alright, so normally you do need a pretty good group of Zerglings and then Roaches to target fire down together with the Queen's individual Adepts. This is showing up real early though. So usually you want Lings chasing the Shades, but honestly there's not enough Zerglings. He's gonna need like twice the amount of Zerglings. Once again, natural and third base, not connected with creep yet. So the Queens are gonna have a hard time, well, making their way into the main base. I think instead they've decided they want to chase down the Prism. Fair enough. But this is an excellent start to this aggression. Then again, though, Astrea hasn't killed any workers yet. Or... Ooh, don't lose the Prism. Don't lose the Prism. Don't lose the Prism. Hello? What? He could have killed the Prism. Anyways, because there was some drama going on over at the third base. Prism. Prism. That could have died 17 times. I think Reynor was giving his opponent the benefit of the doubt right there, and he decided to back off, but he could have easily killed that. Anyways, how many Adepts ended up going down in total? 5 Adepts. Well, they ended up killing certainly a good amount of value there. And in the back, we also have now a third Nexus right here for our Protoss player. The Adepts are going to be used to defend this third Nexus now for a little while, as we have a Robo Bay coming up once again. Are we going to go second Robo? Bit early maybe for a second Robo, but, you know, we already did that earlier on as well. 2 more Adepts trying to be obnoxious, killing whatever amount of drones they can. You know what? 3 workers, not bad. That low HP Prism, it was, by the way, literally at 1 health. Maybe Astrea assumed it was dead already as well, or maybe he assumed he had flown it a little bit further. He had flown it? Nice. Good English, Lowko. That's when you know you've been speaking too much English, where you start coming up with your own words. Flying. The past tense of the word flying. Anyways. Bailing Nest coming up. +1 melee coming up. Reynor. Ooh, sorry. I was sitting up straight in my chair and I just let my mouse go. I've been doing that a lot lately. I don't know why. I like sit up in my chair and I have my mouse over here. Sorry, it's a little bit ugly. Yeah, Reynor just playing this like a good old macro game. So he has remade the workers that he's lost. He realizes that he's not in a brilliant position, but this is a very playable spot right here for sure. Here's the next attack though. Normally, those Adepts can be a little bit awkward, because Adepts, they fall off pretty heavily as the armies get bigger. So normally you do need some sort of follow-up attack. Now notice the distinct lack of a Prism. Canceling all but 2 or 3 of those Adepts. I actually kind of like it. Yeah, okay. So without the Prism, I don't think Protoss would really commit here. There's no sentries, it's just 2 Immortals acting cool, but you can see that Reynor was panicking there for just a moment. Okay. So we're now, once again, just being obnoxious, I suppose. 4 additional drones end up going down. It's actually added up. 14 workers now in total. Yeah, you kind of need to get rid of those Adepts as well at some point. He's just shading them all over the place, and occasionally they make their way towards the mineral lines. Not bad. Yeah, so all the roads eventually do lead towards a similar unit composition here that we see in the mid-game from Protoss, but Astrea taking some interesting approaches in getting there. Okay, so what's the plan, Reynor? I think Reynor's plan is to sit at like 80+ workers and then just throw stuff at the opponent. We're soon gonna arrive at the Banelink speed upgrade, and Banelink's into mineral lines is one of Reynor's hallmarks, right? This is something he likes to do a lot, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if we're gonna be seeing some more of that. Did we once again have 2 Adepts going down? We did. 2 Adepts for 2 drones though, not necessarily worthwhile, but at this point in the game I don't absolutely hate it. You need something with those Adepts. You need to do something with them. Again, interesting decision right here. Astrea decides to go for the 4th base right here on the right side. Okay, army mispositioned there. Normally we see the 4th base. Normally we see the 4th base on the bottom of the map, so right over here at the 6 o'clock position. He's just so annoying, man. 21 workers. 21 workers is a very respectable amount. If he's not careful, he's gonna kill a lot more. Maybe we're just gonna kill some... I think we're just gonna trade him out now. Yeah. Would have liked to see a shade into the mineral line. Yeah, no, this is a little too late. Because Reynor was also being annoying on the right side of the map. Who's, by the way, not deterred from the fact that his opponent just made a nexus over there. He decides to become next door neighbors. I don't know if they do any sort of housewarming gifts. I don't know, maybe food always does well, right? Everybody appreciates food, especially when you're just moving in. But anyways, I don't think Reynor is going to be giving his opponent, and Astrea probably won't return it either. The creep has already been pushed very nicely in this direction too. At least flowers would be nice, right? Anyways. Careful now, Astrea. Very, very careful, my man. Okay. Zerglings for a Disruptor. Not a terrible trade. Zealot Warpin off of that 1 HP Prism here. I think these Zealots are charging on over in that direction very soon, and the other ones are gonna head on over into the main base. While I say that, suddenly there's a Zerg army knocking on the front door as well. Disruptors are needed on the right side, however, as the Zerg army is trying to push forward there too. That Disruptor is whiffed at the same time. The Zealots, they don't have charge yet, but he decides to send them in anyways. They're, I guess, a little early to the party, but just now. Well, I'm gonna back off. There was so much action going on that I missed the most important bit of damage. These Banelings suddenly showing up. Okay, yeah. And this wall building, it's pretty great. But 33 workers. That is exactly what Reynor is hoping for. That puts a smile on your face as a Zerg player. You try to hit them at 7 different angles at once. They try to hit you at like 4 as well. But in the end, you're still the one who comes out victorious there. Okay, so big picture. 27 drones have gone down. That was like 10 minutes of poking in and out. 33 end up going down in about 3 seconds. Unfortunately, right there for Astrea, he now finds himself in a bit of a trickier spot. I actually think if he wouldn't have lost those probes, this would have been very good for him. Right now, though, what exactly do you do? One of the problems is that there's so much creep everywhere that it's difficult to actually go for an attack. Zerg is now also at such a large amount of army supply that he can split up the units quite nicely, or he can bring them suddenly all together. Astrea forcing his army. I actually quite like this fourth base over here. It makes a lot of sense anyways. He's forcing his army into multiple areas as well. There go the Disruptors once again. Good detonation on the first one. This one now decides to wander a little too far forward. Hello. Those are the types of mistakes we should not be seeing here. Couple of Lings in the mineral line trying to be annoying. Corrosive Biles. Okay, they don't really connect. At the same time, once again, Zealots being annoying. The Zealot Warpins can certainly save the day. In the meantime, by the way, Zerg has tacked up towards a hive. And because of that, Adrenal Glands are coming up. Banelings once again are rolling by on the right side of the map, and the Protoss army, it is gonna go deep onto the creep. The probe transfer. Oh no, the probe transfer just arrived. And that is an additional 17 workers. This is now a game of speed. StarCraft 2, generally speaking, is a game of mechanics, right? Generally, the guy with the better multitasking, who is on top of everything, ends up winning. And you can see, yeah, the actions per minute, they don't lie. Astrea is very fast, but Reynor is faster. This is something that Reynor has always been very good at. The first time I ever saw Reynor play was at a WESG in Barcelona. And I think he must have been like 15 or so at the time, maybe 16, I'm not exactly sure. But he was very young. And yeah, I remember watching this kid play. He was... he was insane. He was playing without headphones on, having full-on conversations at 600 actions per minute. And he hasn't slowed down. Maybe he's gonna slow down soon, though, because he's been playing a lot of League of Legends lately. He's been streaming a lot, and he's been playing a lot of League. So microing one unit might end up hurting his APM a little bit in the long run, but all jokes aside, though, Reynor is, I would say, the fastest player in all of StarCraft 2. And that's honestly one of the reasons for his success. Huge detonation over there. Okay, you know what? Those Banelings, they just rolled into a bunch of Archons. That's not bad at all. Very expensive set of traits right there for Reynor, who is certainly ahead right now, but he has not put the nail in the coffin yet. Stalker right there, blinking up towards the high ground, trying to get some vision. Lings once again coming in through the left. Okay. That's a good amount of Zerglings, though. Now they have Adrenal as well, so that's about a 40% attack speed improvement. Very significant on those Lings. The battery overcharge can be helpful, but not needed just yet. And once again, man, Reynor's just rinsing and repeating with the same unit comp. The Archon count is very large. 10 Archons at this point in the game is nothing to scoff at. We're getting to the point where the Protoss army is going to be able to take on this Zerg army pretty easily. I would be very concerned right now if I was Astrea for like a Brute Lord transition. Like, he's been at Hive for a while. We don't have a Spire. So So that means that there's not going to be any Brood Lords here anytime soon, at least. But I would be very concerned. There's very little available here for Astrea to actually kill that. What Astrea is trying to do is make a death ball. He's trying to make a death ball of units. Now, there's the Spire going down. I think Reynor is on the right track. I think Brood Lords would be amazing here. But Astrea has made a death ball. He's got a very scary army. When it comes to the army value, look right there in the top left-hand corner. His army is significantly bigger as far as the resources go. So even though he might not be winning the economical game, he may very well be coming ahead. Yeah, he may be coming out ahead right here when it comes to the clash between these armies. That Disruptor Nova could have been the ceiling... the ceiling deal? Sure, we can go with that. Coming up with my own English. Not bad. Second time today. Anyhow, the Spire over here also at a very exposed location. I don't really like that spot at all. Is Astrea gonna continue pushing? Reynor doesn't actually have that much. Like, he's got a good amount of stuff, but it's all these, like, low-tier units, right? It's Lynx and Veins and Roaches and Ravagers. They're well upgraded, but... yeah. Astrea a little bit concerned. He doesn't want to just dive on top of this. He's gonna add on more Archons. You know what? Storm would have been amazing here. I'm surprised we did not see Psionic Storm here at all. Great Aspire, by the way, has started up. There's nothing really here that can kill Brood Lords. Unless you can get those Archons underneath, I suppose, but that shouldn't happen. Lynx right now. Oh, no, those are not Zerglings. Banelings instead. This is the majority of... yeah, you've already killed all the workers, mate. This is the majority of the economy here that Astrea has at the third. I don't think you should be throwing away these Banelings right now. Okay. We're not gonna finish up in time. Yeah, Storm is actually a no-brainer, right? He's also skipped all the armor upgrades, so... yeah, I guess on an Archon-based army, that makes some sense, but... oh, yeah, okay. All those Banelings still found some damage as they kill even more workers. We're now up to 110 probes killed. And yet, Astrea's army is looking menacing. He's on the clock. He's really on the clock, though. 6 Corruptors are coming up right now. 6 Brood Lords? I think that's pretty much all he needs. Brood Lords are a little bit faster as well in the new multiplayer balance patch. I guess Stalkers could technically blink underneath the Broods, but Zerglings and Banelings are ready to stop that at a moment's notice. These units are now also tasked with killing the Nexi on the outer skirts, or the outskirts of the map. Okay. Outer skirts. My third English invention. You're welcome. There come the Brother Lords. They're pretty strong. There's not much the Protoss has against them. Yeah, how many do we have? Just 3? Just 3. Yeah, 2 more coming up, okay. I always like 8. I usually go for 8. I think 8 Brutes is a good number. Anyways, Reynor also nibbling away at the opponent, and now he's gonna see Astrea, that is. The little Broodlings being thrown. Yep, now he sees them. He's gonna need to clear out those units. Then again, though, the win condition in a game of StarCraft 2 is to destroy all of your opponent's structures. Astrea is gonna have an easier time defending at home. Now, he did decide to pull the unit that was holding that wall as well. I think, though, that the income right here for Reynor is really just a little too big. Most of the supply difference is caught up in workers. But he's gonna have to hit a banger of a Nova now. Yeah. Nice targeting there as well by Reynor, by the way. Trying to pick off the Disruptors. Yep, there we go. Beautiful targeting. Splitting and targeting at the same time. Zerglings running on over here, assuming that there's gonna be a third Nexus. Now, finally that Prism just fell. Okay, he does decide to blink forward. There is a little bit of energy available on those Queens for transfusions as well, but Reynor doesn't need it as he obtains the victory 2-1.